Hi, welcome to Journeys. My name is Denise Hurley, and this is my program my show that I've been doing for quite some time now. And what I'd like to do is try to highlight different folks in the region to talk about who they are, their background, what they do for a living, they're passionate about. So I like to showcase people like my guest today. My guest today is Sheryl Wagner. Welcome, Sheryl.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here with you.
Yeah. So what I'd like to just first get into, Cheryl is a medium, just so folks know, and I want to talk a little bit about what she does, who she is, what she does. So, Cheryl, when did you first realize that you had this gift of mediumship?
That's an interesting question. I wouldn't say there was one moment that I realized it, but maybe there was sort of important moments throughout my life.
Hmm.
And you said, use the word gift. I guess I maybe started to think of it that way when I started doing this work, which is only almost about 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Um, can you talk a little bit about your first experience? Kind of
Sure.
whatever kind
Yeah.
of triggered it?
Yeah. So some of the important moments, I guess, would be, in 2004, I had a near-death experience after a medical trauma. So that experience, really experiencing the spirit world and in a very real way, really opened up and sort of clarified for me different experiences I had had when I was younger. And
Okay.
so a lot of the people and loved ones that I had in the spirit world that I was seeing and experiencing during that after that medical trauma were very familiar to me and sort of put some, I guess I would say, clarity around other moments when I was younger.
Okay. Okay. Um, so what is the role of a medium?
So, a medium is going to be the connection between, someone here, my client, and then a spirit person. So, someone that's in the spirit world. So, a lot of the work that I do is going to be, I would say more than half the work I do is psychic readings and mediumship readings with clients that either have lost someone, possibly they're grieving, or just interested really to find out more about life and death and things like that. And then the other part of my work, as you know, is teaching mediumship
Hmm. Hmm.
and really trying to create a space where people can feel empowered to discover their own abilities and their own sort of natural way of connecting with the other world, which I feel that many of us have and many of us sort of suppress it. And that's why I say, in my life, there's been, sort of really big moments, but there's also been lots of sort of suppression of that ability and sensitivity, really, is what it is. So that's a lot of the work that I do.
Okay. So, um, can you talk a little bit maybe about, is there a technique of um,
Sure.
doing the work? Blending is a term.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like one of the most common things and kind of the beginning things, what people are starting to experience usually way before they come to me saying, I want to, learn about mediumship is really more intuition and sort of becoming open to that really natural part of ourselves, which is the intuitive part of us that often gets shut down because of our conditioning, because we live in a society that doesn't always honor feelings and emotions and just intuition. There's no conscious reasoning behind these feelings we have many times. We know things and we don't know how we know them. So I would say intuition is probably, the beginning of that.
Okay.
But I often, when I have someone new that's, I can sense the mediumship potential, I will just encourage them to make the connection and just begin, even if it feels like they're making it up, and just to tell me what they know about the spirit person that's with them. So, starting with what we know, because oftentimes, like I said, we really discount things that we just know. We don't give credibility to our knowing sometimes, but it can be really strong.
Yeah. So, yeah. So a lot of times, I guess people do say, "Well, I feel, Gramps around me,
Yeah.
Grandpa or a grandmother," and they say, "I always feel them around me," and type of thing. So that's kind of what you're talking about to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And, using our breath is going to be really important as well. So, for me in my work, using my breath to connect, to make that stronger connection, whether it's if you're meditating in meditation, or, lots of people use their breath and breath work and yoga and things like that to sort of expand our awareness and make that connection. It's the same in mediumship.
Mhm.
It's going to really kind of keep the conscious mind out of the way, which we don't need so much in mediumship. And our breath is something that really can help connect us more
Yeah.
deeply.
Yeah. Um, so what about kids? Do you think they're uh, the good mediums?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have two boys. They're both very connected, very intuitive. My one, I would say, is more interested in working with me and practicing with me, and has actually done readings. I found out for friends, just on the phone, during this during this pandemic, and
Uh-huh.
sort of, I'm aware of your grandmother and things like that. But I've, really only myself to blame, because I practice a lot of the exercises that I use in my classes and my teaching. I practice with him, with my son.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
can really, and it's really natural with kids because they don't, well, my kids, they don't have as much of that conditioning, so they don't
Right.
feel afraid to share, they don't feel pressure to get it right. Just sort of, when kids are being kids, just really naturally saying what they know and what they feel. It's really quite easy for them to make that connection.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's a great connection with you and your son. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love
I
it too.
do. I do. Okay. So what's the difference between a psychic and a medium?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people say, all mediums are psychic, but not all psychics are mediums.
Mhm.
So in psychic energy, we'll be connecting to a person that's here on the earth plane. So we can connect to a person, a place, even holding an object through psychometry. A lot of that's psychic information. In mediumship, we're really, it's not about us. We're really moving the conscious mind out of the way, and we're making this connection and blending with a spirit person, and really letting them speak and letting them, just kind of project through our mind, what they need to get across, and share with their recipient.
Okay. So I guess when people do like tarot cards, that's more of a psychic type of thing. Is that correct?
Yeah, it really can be. And so, tarot cards, I love tarot, as you probably know.
Hmm.
I love working with cards. I love, the artwork. I collect them, and I just love the imagery. I don't use them a lot in my readings. I do sometimes in psychic readings. I use them. And that's sort of, like any divination tool, it's an extension of our energy. And so a lot of people find, using oracle cards or tarot cards in the beginning can really open up their intuition and open up their awareness, because your eye will just sort of be drawn to something on the card, and then it will start to kind of get things moving for you.
Right. Right.
I like to use them with myself. I love teaching people how to use tarot and connect with tarot. And but in mediumship, I'm not using them. I'm really keeping that sort of pure connection with the spirit person, and that's sort of the difference. That's the difference for me. But I will say that I have had many students that are doing, tarot readings, especially in the beginning, and then they kind of become aware of a spirit person, that may be for the recipient. And just like people that do, healing and Reiki, you can become aware of something.
Sure, sure. So now with tarot cards, there's the traditional cards that a lot of people use, but I know from experience there's tons of different types of one. Do you have a particular deck that you like most?
I do. Yeah, so I use, it's an independent company, but it's the Fountain Tarot. And it's just sort of the imagery is really based on the traditional Rider Waite deck.
Mhm.
But I just love the imagery of the Fountain Tarot. I've been using it for about 3 years now. And I use that in all with my client readings. So that's the everyday deck that I use.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Um, okay, I'm going to go into something a little different. It's just
Sure.
the basic mediumship, but I think this is interesting take on. Do you feel your mediumship has increased your awareness of social justice um, these days, and has that helped you voice your message?
Oh, that's interesting. I think that it may have provided me a greater platform to voice my message. Um, my interest in social justice probably goes back to my grandmother, who was a really strong influence in my life and was really dedicated to just serving the community.
Hmm.
And so she's been a role model for me. But I would say my interest in it in a broader sense, in a personal sense, really through my own experience in advocating for civil rights and disability access for a family member. So that's kind of where that began for me. And we all have moments that sort of open our eyes to the truth of that, and the truth of the world that we live in. And doing what I do, it's really important to me that people, can acknowledge, and that we're not, spiritual bypassing, which
Right.
is a lot of that in the community. There's a lot of, white women doing this work. And if we don't acknowledge, systematic racism and
Hmm.
oppression, inequity, then we really do, a huge disservice to the clients that we serve.
Okay.
And a lot of that is just learning our history, and just connecting, really just making those personal connections with other people, listening to their lived experience, listening to their voices, and really being willing to be wrong, and being willing to make mistakes is really important too. Because when we have this idea sometimes that spiritual teachers or spiritual people are supposed to have all the answers, but we're human and we don't have all the answers. And
Hmm.
so, really, empathy, and really listening and willing to learn is the only way. Because everything I know now, I certainly didn't know, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
Hmm.
And I'm sure that I will look back on what I'm saying right now, hopefully in 5 years, and say, oh, I really didn't know this. And it's
Hmm.
just an ongoing process, I think. And it's good if we're wrong, because then we can correct it and just be willing to, yeah, to change, which is what
Yeah,
our society needs.
yeah. So, so you're kind of saying that your guides are kind of helping you a little bit in terms of, you
I
know,
would say I would say that they're always present, right? Our guides and inspirers, people that are with us, and are always present, in everything we're doing from our soul. And when I, think about activism and social justice, I really do feel that, these are all words, but like my soul, my intuition, my guides, my awareness has sort of led me toward what I'm supposed to know and what I'm supposed to do.
right. Okay.
And that's been really important, just kind of listening to the truth of that.
Hmm. Okay. All right. Now I'm interested in the world of Zoom these days.
Yes.
Uh, how do you think your ability to do readings and demonstrations has been different from when you've been doing in person?
Yeah, it is really different. And something people probably don't know because I'm always on Zoom and teaching on Zoom and clients on Zoom is that I just started it when the pandemic began. I got Wi-Fi in my office that first week that we were
Mhm.
gonna have our class, so we didn't have to miss our weekly class, and just started using Zoom. I feel really good about it. I feel great about the work that I've been able to do as far as demonstrating and readings. It is different in the way that it works. And so, when I've got a room full of people, if I've got 40 people in this room, the office I'm in is actually really big. Um, so if I had 40 people in here, it would feel really different to me because I would physically feel their energy. Um, and I would have to manage that on my end. And so when I have a group on Zoom, I don't physically feel all of their energy. Perhaps just if I'm making a connection with one person, I would in a psychic reading.
Mhm.
And so for me, I feel the spirit world with me here where I am. And I feel them blending with me. And it feels just as strong to me. And in some aspects, I guess I would say I feel it stronger because you feel the atmosphere changing, you feel that blending happening, and you're not as pulled or maybe distracted by people that are in front of you. But at the same time, a lot of people like to feel that excitement and that energy of the group.
Right.
And then there's the recipients that are on Zoom. So sometimes, especially if you've got a large group, sometimes people can be distracted, can be looking at their phone. They can be not as engaged. They do things. I had someone in one of my groups kind of like peeling potatoes during a demonstration. It was a large group of people, and
Mhm.
they do things they wouldn't do if they were sitting in the room with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So now explain what a demonstration is for a group.
yeah, so we'll do a demonstration of mediumship, and so there'll all be all different sizes. But for example, the next one I have coming up will probably be a group of about 40 people, and I'll be demonstrating with another medium. And we'll be connecting. It will seem at random to audience members and just connecting with their spirit person and
Mhm.
then, sharing that information. So I may become aware of a woman in the spirit world and I'll share some, memories or facts or traits about her. And then that will connect to one audience member. And then I can go and work with that recipient. And then just share whatever their loved one is wanting to share with them.
Okay. All right. Um, Now, are there any folks in the field that have influenced you at all, or your mentors, or people that you love to work with that had really helped you develop your skills?
Yeah, definitely. So I would say, when I first started doing mediumship, the way that I got into it was the first medium I met was Liam Galvin, who's actually shares this. He has an office in this building, and so he's also a medium in Canton. And I started going to his practice circles. And then when I went to Arthur Findlay College in the UK, I worked with Eamon Downey, and I've also worked with him here as well, and in Holland and in New Jersey, and he's been a great influence to me in my work. And I would also say one of my colleagues that I met, who's now become one of my friends in Holland, Darren Britton. He's going to be doing my next demonstration. I'll be working with him. He's also been, I would say, a great influence and friend to have in this work. It's definitely nice to have some friends that also do this work that you can
Sure,
talk to.
sure. Yeah. So are there particular like schools that people do go to learn about mediumship or any kind of spirituality?
Yeah, so I mean, there's so many things online now, and so many options, and so many great mediums, and so many different ideas out there. Um, Arthur Findlay College is in the UK, and you go
Okay.
and sign up for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks and spend time there learning with different tutors. That's a spiritualist organization, so it goes under the spiritualist religion. And
Hmm.
so that's a good place where people go and learn. And then I feel just finding people that resonate with you, keeping an eye out for when they have classes and
Mm,
just, signing up for things.
online. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's wonderful that we're able to use Zoom so we can go to um, places, in other countries and learn some skills. I think it's wonderful. But you've traveled to the overseas to get some training too. Is that correct, or just by Zoom?
Yes, no. So I went to the UK and studied at Arthur Findlay College twice, and
Okay.
then I went to Holland for a trance workshop. That was in 2019.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have been fortunate to do some traveling and I've gone to New Jersey a couple times and
Okay.
to do this work.
All right. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Um, So, is there anything else you'd like to tell us about yourself and the work that you do and what might be important for people to know?
Yeah, well, I'm writing a book right now.
Oh,
Oh, I'm
okay.
writing, yeah, so I'm writing a book on intuition development, and it's more of a teaching book, what I would teach in my classes, but also it's going to include a lot of stories and things from my life and experiences as well. And I share a lot I have a pretty active social media on Instagram. That's where I mostly am. And so I share a lot of, tips and kind of behind the scenes things, and I'll share some things from the book. And I have a nice community there. So if anyone's looking to just kind of observe or learn more without, directly interacting, that's a good place to kind of get an idea and a feel for what I do.
Okay. Very nice. Okay. Um, all right. So how do people get in touch with you to find out more about your mediumship and um, as well as someone trying to, explore their own gifts or, maybe get a reading from you or, how
Yeah,
would they find you?
yeah. So you'll go to my website. So it's SherylWagnerMedium.com, Cheryl with an S. And they can look at, different things that I offer, different classes and workshops that are available, and they can use that form to request an appointment.
Okay, excellent. Well, Cheryl, I want to thank you for coming on my show. I really appreciate it. Fascinating information about mediumship and who you are and the great work you're doing, especially and with social justice too. I think what you're doing is so important for these times. I just want to thank you again, and
Thank you.
thanks to my audience for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Okay. Bye, Cheryl.
Bye. Thank you.